This is it. Heavenly Father, I pray that you give me the words to say, the right words to say. I pray that you can use my story for your glory. It rhymes. I don't really know. I don't think this video requires an intro. I don't really know how to introduce this video anyway. I left, go to sleep. I left my fiance, Adrian. We were together almost 9 years. In March, it would have been 9 years. It was the hardest decision I ever made, and I also told myself that I wasn't going to cry, so I'm extremely stubborn, as you are going to find out in this video. You think I would learn to not be stubborn by now, but I'm not making this video to give an explanation of why I decided to separate from Adrian. I am making this video because I believe that there's someone out there who can benefit from my story. So I'm just going to share the reasons that led up to this. I have no excuse why it took so long. I wasted my time as well as everyone else's. So there are needs that I have that weren't being met, and Adrian and I did have a heart-to-heart, and I brought everything to the table and said, here's why I'm unhappy. And he said to me that he can't give me what I need, which was all the closure, really in just one sentence, that I needed. So here's why I decided to separate from Adrian. This is the number one reason. There is an addiction problem that he has. And I remembered the promise that I made to myself that I would leave him if he stopped trying to better himself, if he stopped pursuing getting clean, if you will. And I ignored it. I ignored my subconscious and my brain telling me, hey, do you remember that one time you left him, it killed you, you thought you were going to die, it was the worst pain ever, and you promised yourself that you would not get back with him if he had this issue? Well, you're still here. And I thought, if he proposes to me, I will say, we gotta go to counseling. That'll be the perfect reason to go to counseling, because premarital counseling is what you do after you're engaged. So we got engaged 2019, 2 years later, and we've been engaged, or I'm sorry, we were engaged. I'm sorry. Little shit like that just kind of throws you. So we were engaged for 1.5 years and no counseling. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So then it's like, oh, we can't do counseling. And then I was like, okay, there's virtual counseling. And he was just busy, always busy. And then in November, just about 6 weeks ago, I caught him again. And I reminded him, our wedding is 4 months away. It's time. Like, it's time to get a counselor. What are you going to do to fix this? And 2 days later, he got on a plane and went to North Carolina to work on a show. That's what started the doubts really kind of bubbling up to the surface. I wouldn't even say rise. It was kind of like a... And I was heartbroken. I'm not gonna lie, I cried for days when he went to North Carolina, because deep down, I couldn't even acknowledge it back then, but I acknowledge it now. Deep down, I knew what I had to do, and it killed me. That was reason number one. I needed to keep my promise to myself, even though I really don't want to. And I truly believe that he can overcome anything. I mean, I believe that with all my heart. I have no doubt in my mind, but he doesn't believe that. And that's the thing. That's the thing that I needed to just stop ignoring. Then the second thing was, I'm lonely. And you know, after our first breakup, when we got back together, he had his own conditions as well. I told y'all I went crazy. He said, you need to stop being obsessed with me. You need to get your own friends, hang out with them, be independent. What is it that you want to do? And for the past 5 years, I've been on this journey of figuring out what it is that I'm good at, that makes me happy, that brings me joy. What do I want to do? I found the best group of girls that love me and only want the best for me. I have come leaps and strides in my eating disorder recovery than I was 5 years ago. Like, I am a completely different person, someone that I would not recognize. I have become so independent. I rely on myself, and I can only truly thank Adrian for that, because he forced me to do that, because he works so much. And in order for me to be happy and not go crazy, I had no choice but to pursue me. For anyone that is lucky enough to work with Adrian, I hope that they recognize how hard he works and respects him for it, because he bends over backwards for people just to make them feel happy, respected, and valued at the end of every day. That, to me, is so attractive. I have never not loved that he worked and truly affected people's lives in such a positive way. It's such a turn on. However, he would give so much to work, and when he came home, there wasn't a lot for me. Why is this so hard to talk about? Okay, you got this. You got it. I needed Adrian's attention. Honestly, I'll be real honest with you. As a super stubborn, independent woman, that makes me feel uncomfortable to say, because I never want to admit that I need someone. This here is me admitting that I'm wrong, and I needed that attention from my fiance. Just a little. Like, we tried doing the thing where he comes home and the 30 minutes are spent just him and I, no electronics, just talking about our days. And it lasted like twice. I just tried to be a good girlfriend. I know when he comes home from work, he's exhausted and he needs his little hour to unwind, and that's usually in front of the TV, video games. But by that time, it's so late. Dinner's been eaten. He just wants to watch TV. When I pause something and say, hey, can we talk? Can I tell you about my day? I mean, there were multiple occasions where he'd just be like, and I never felt like my attention was wanted. And I know that's not true, because I know he loves me. But it felt like I needed to just leave him alone. And I'm an early bird, so I go to bed. And then we do the same thing the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. There was one point in our heart-to-heart where I was yelling at him, I'm lonely. Get it through your head. And he always saw my need for attention as a negative thing. Like it meant that I wasn't independent enough, that I was needy. So I felt required to give him more and more space. And in that sacrifice that I made in our relationship, I became more and more lonely. Then once the show ends and he's got like a few months in between the next job, he would fill that time in with video games. And so he would play video games until the next job came around. And I would give him that space to unwind, because I knew how hard he worked. And because I wanted to be a good girlfriend, I told him I feel like I'm third and sometimes even fourth in his life. There's work, then there's video games, then there's me, but sometimes there was his addiction, and then there was me. And I don't want to be in a relationship where I come third or fourth. I don't know if that's a fantasy, because I've never experienced that, but that's what I want. And I don't know if that's real, and I kind of feel like an idiot for even thinking that kind of love is possible for me. I'm 29. I feel like it's a little too late, and it's my fault. Like, I'm the one who stayed for years, even though I had so many doubts. A couple of recent events that kind of woke me up, to be quite honest. I went to New Mexico and spent the week with Adrian, and on one of the last days, he brought this up that two of his closest friends couldn't make it to the wedding. And I was just like, this sucks. And he goes, why don't we postpone the wedding? And instead of being like, oh, you know what, that's a good idea, I burst into tears. And I mean, this obviously makes sense. Any bride that has had to reschedule or postpone their wedding during COVID should burst into tears, period. And that's what I told myself. But deep down, I was like, we shouldn't just postpone the wedding and pick a new date. We should postpone the wedding indefinitely. And I knew it, and I didn't want to know it. Literally, as I was saying these words, I was so excited to marry you in the next 3 months. My brain was like, you're so happy that you have more time to figure things out. Fast forward a week later, I go to my friend's apartment, and we're having, all my bridesmaids are there. They're my closest girlfriends, and we're just having a Christmas party. And I let them know, hey, by the way, Adrian and I have decided to just postpone the wedding due to COVID. and one of them started it. She kind of started crying and was just like, I don't think he is the one for you. And then down the line, they began to chip in. And they said, we love Adrian. He's so funny. He's so nice to us. We know that you love him, and we know that you're head over heels in love with him. But from what we've seen, he dulls your shine. One thing that leapt out to me was one of my friends said that I'm such a firework and I bring so much joy. And when I'm hanging out with them, I have so much laughter. And then when they see me with Adrian, I seem dulled down. They don't like certain things that he said to me. I always said, oh, he's just being logical, but really, like, for example, there was a day when I felt very fat in Jamaica. I was living in a bikini all day. My eating disorder was attacking me so hard. And I said, I feel so fat today to Adrian. And he said, why? Haven't you been gluten-free? And I was just like, wrong answer, try again. To me, is just responding logically. But to my friends, they were like, what is wrong with him? And how have you come so far in your eating disorder with a man like that? He loves me. That's just his way of talking to me. He's a Capricorn. He doesn't know how to show emotion. I love him. I still want to marry him. But as I was listening to their reasons, I was just like, wow. They spoke on doubts that I have had for years that I never even addressed. They saw them without me ever speaking a word about them. So after the conversation with my friends, I began talking to my mom, telling her how I was feeling and telling her these doubts. And she said, you got to talk to God. So I began praying and praying, and I heard God say that I needed to leave. So I had the conversation with Adrian, and it was a terrible week for the both of us. Absolutely heartbreaking. I broke his heart. I also broke mine. And then the last reason was there's certain ways that he would respond to me or speak to me that I just didn't like. For example, after we break up, I'm like, hey, how much is our Ryobi wireless drill? And he goes, wow, you'll never be able to afford it. You know how much money I have in the bank. It's more than anything I've ever had in my life. You're gonna say, I'll never be able to afford it. And he goes, well, I just mean you're cheap and you'll never pay for it. And I was like, okay, well then you say that, but not even in that way, because that's not how you speak to me. It makes me feel like you don't believe in me. You think I'll be lost without you. I don't want to marry that. I don't want to marry a man who doesn't believe in me. He doesn't think I'm resourceful. I asked him once if I should audition for American Idol, and he said, no, you'll never make it to the second round. And then he goes, well, think about it. You're going up against so many people who had training. Have you ever had any training? No. And I think it might be crazy to want this, but I want someone who's like, hell yeah, let's go. I told him this too. He said, I've given you so much independence. I let you go wherever you want to go. I let you hang whoever you want to hang with. He said to me, if you said I want to go to California, I would say go. And I said, that's the point. I don't want you to say go. I want you to go with me. And then another thing was his health. Again, he puts work in front of everything. He hasn't been to the doctor in decades. I have a drive to better myself, and he doesn't. I'll be quite honest. He has a drive to better his bank account, and that might be attractive to other women. If that's attractive to you, he's single. It's not attractive to me. I don't want to be with someone for their money. I will make my own money. So after our 2-hour heart-to-heart, I told him everything that I needed from him. He told me, he said, I can't give you what you need. A few days later, I was driving him to Denton so that he could drive to New Mexico. And he goes, I never said that. Which, men, I will tell you this right now, you did say that. We have the best memories on the planet. And that thing that he said to me came with a mortal blow. I would never forget that. Don't even insult me like that. I didn't respond this way, but my brain was like, skrr. He goes, I said that I can't promise to give you what you need. You can throw another word in there, but it's the same thing. And I said, I don't want to marry a husband who can't promise to give me what I need, because you will fail me and I will fail you again and again and again. You will fail me. But the act of making that promise to me is going to get you back on your feet and give you something to strive for, remembering that you made me that promise. And I will forgive you when you fail. That's the point of a whole relationship. But I can't be with someone who can't even promise to give me what I need in the first place. So hearing that he can't give me what I needed, and then hearing again, I can't promise to give you what you need, was a lot of closure for me. And I did hear God say that I needed to leave. I am doing the hardest thing that I've ever done. I have my own place. I have my own bills now, all of it. And I am having complete faith that this is not going to put me under a bridge somewhere or kill me. But I gotta say, when the sun goes down, I have never been more lonely, and that's the time when I feel like I'm making the biggest mistake the most. And it's so hard. And not to run to him and say, just kidding. Gotcha. Can I move all my stuff back in? I can't live without you. But the thing that's holding me back is I can't marry someone with doubts. I can't do it. I can't wait for marriage to be the problem solver. I can't wait for marriage so that we can finally go to counseling. I need to end this before it's too damn late, you know? I hate crying. By the way, I know it's okay to cry, and it is okay to cry. I feel like it's also okay to hate it, because there's people out there who don't like crying, and that person is me. So I took Adrian to Denton yesterday and said goodbye. And leaving someone that I've spent so many years with is terrifying. I don't even want to date anyone else. So if you are like, oh, she's single, don't. Stay. Please. We're doing the damn thing proper. I'm moving out of the house. I'm getting my own place. I've got my own bills. I will not rely on him for anything at all. It's just me. We're gonna try to do the no talking thing. We are going to do the no talking thing. I'm hoping though that maybe 6 months from now, I can look back at this video and say, I'm proud of you, Alisha. Thank you, Alisha. You did the right thing. You're so happy. And I don't know if that's going to be my response in 6 months or longer if I don't try. I have to try. I have to try. I have to know. And if I'm wrong, bitch, let's get married. So, I don't know if anyone is going to benefit from my story, but I do feel God tell me that, I do feel in my heart that someone will. I don't feel any kind of comfort, truly, or any peace at all, knowing that my pain may bring someone's happiness, because it hasn't even brought my ass happiness yet. So I don't know if this is the right decision. But I am moving forward with the hope that I'm doing the right thing. Thank you all for being here and for giving me support during this huge life change. I hope that I could still be a source of joy to your lives. I don't know when that's gonna be, but I hope that I can be happy and bring joy to my stories on Instagram again. And I guess thank you for watching this video, and I love you guys. I'm gonna take a break for a little bit, move out of this house completely and move into my apartment and start my new life and begin moving on. Thank you for watching.